In this lesson we're going to go ahead and create our windshield and our hood here, and it's easier we're not going to do just one side. We need to basically have both sides of the model here, and so I just mirrored the geometry here, and I'm duplicating again because just in case, like I said earlier, you know, if you ever make a mistake or have a problem, it's easier if you have a backup of that model, and just, you know, name it accordingly of, you know, where you're at. And if you can see, I just named it backup 65%er, and that's basically 65% of the models pretty much done. And so we're going to go ahead and make some geometric edits here, and we'll go ahead and make our hood. And this is just because what I'm doing here is I'm deleting these edges because the inset on those is a little bit too much for me. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and so I'm going to go ahead and make sure I merge all those verts down the middle so that the model is, you know, merged, so I can go ahead and select the faces that I need, and I'll just reselect the faces for the hood here. And make sure I have just those faces selected and nothing else. And we're going to go ahead and inset a little bit more here, just a little bit smaller, not as much as last time, because last time it was just a little bit too big. So duplicate the faces and center the pivot on it. Basically there is the hood geometry. So now I'm going to go ahead and delete these faces off. Select those last two and basically just delete them. Go ahead and extrude it in a little bit so that it really does close up properly. And instead of going back, I'm going to go in this way that there's really going to be no light shining through the model, and it's going to be, you know, very light closed off. And just adjust the verts a little bit here. I mean, we definitely don't actually have to model an engine. I mean, if we went to model the engine for the car, good lord, it would probably take me a year. So we'll, you know, pretty much just fake the engine and just close that off so that, you know, we aren't going to see inside of there, and so that no light actually goes through the model. And we'll just, you know, extrude these edges down. And basically in so that it's going to match the underlying geometry, so that it's pretty much closed off. And you can see, I mean, it's how easy it is to basically make the hood of our car. We just have to add a couple extra edge loops to make sure it's going to refine its shape a little bit. And that's looking, you know, pretty good right now. There's basically the hood of our car. And you can see where the car is, you know, really starting to come along nicely. And then we're basically going to do the same thing for the windshield here. This is going to take a little bit more effort because a lot of the focus is really going to be on the windshield here, so we have to sort of make the edits, you know, properly, and we have to adjust the mesh properly. Go ahead and duplicate those faces and move them over, and now we're just going to basically delete these faces off here. And I'll explain to you whenever we actually go to make the glass here what we're doing. And I'm basically just sort of going to extrude the edges in again. So it looks like it has some thickness to it. And we'll go ahead and extrude the edges down here for the glass. But we don't want to just extrude the edges here on the glass, because whenever we go to render it, the glass isn't going to look thick. So we have to extrude the entire geometry on the glass, especially if we're using something like V-Ray to go ahead and render it. If we render it with just those edges, it's not going to look like it actually has thickness. So we actually have to do that thickness correctly, and it's just how it is. And it's just basically trying to, you know, somewhat create an illusion of like a double paned glass effect for our model. And I'm adding just a couple extra edge loops here for the windshield. And you just have to, you know, adjust where it's just needed to refine that shape to make sure it fits properly. It just takes a little bit of adjustment. And that windshield's, you know, looking pretty good right now. And you can see how easy it is to go ahead and make your hood and your windshield, especially when you've, you know, made your geometry laid out properly.